Hey everybody, I'm Anna McEwen. And now for Bob Switzer with the epic narrative.
Hey, welcome back to the epic narrative. Follow up from last, I think it was the last episode. I talked to you about my, it was the last episode. What am I thinking? My dog, Zacapa. He was making all kinds of goofy noises and stuff. So, anyways, I was after we were all done, right? I got it all put away and everything, and he's still acting like all kinds of goofy. And I realized, oh my gosh, he was hungry. Like it was past his time to eat. So that's what he was trying to tell me yesterday was, hey, Dad, hello, human. I need some food. He's just a doll. He just is. He comes in every time I record. He lays at my feet. So I have to be careful because I like moving around. If you ever have me come preach at your place, you're going to know I like to walk around. But I fully extend this cord every chance I get. But I have to be careful because my dog, he likes to sit here right at my feet. God bless his heart. All right. We're taking a look today at Leviticus chapter 8. We're going to look at the whole thing. So verses 1 through 36. This is a big deal day for the nation. Big deal day, right? Up until this point, we've just kind of talked about the offerings that would be taken and how to do them. And last week I got not way off, but just kind of talk about the logistics that's involved in maintaining just the fires, let alone the cleanliness of the tabernacle, right? Yeah. And just, making sure the blood doesn't end up all over the white linen coverings of the fence posts, and how to take care of all the animals that poop while they're in line. And it's just anyways, there's a lot of logistics if you're going to have this big of a thing going on. And now today we're going to take a look at the sanctification. Yeah. Oh, I think so many times when I use words like that, and I think of like preachers, because they get stuck on little words like that, and they love to emphasize it in some sort of weird accent, and they make it something that's unobtainable by you, the congregant. But they, the preacher, the leader, the ministry head, they somehow have obtained it, or you need them to kind of let you know if you're headed in the right direction. So anyways, the priests get sanctified. And of course, we know who that is, but they were moving, right? This is why it's a big deal. They were moving from concept to reality. And that's always a big adjustment. Because you can have as many meetings as you want about whatever it is that you want to do, and it's not going to really matter when you actually do it. Now, I have run events at every ministry I was a part of. I've run events, whether it was a church or the camps, and I've done outreaches that are huge events. There was one called the Hartford Project. Now, I don't know where it is right now. I know that at the time of this recording, it still exists, but it was a multi-church outreach that involved hundreds and hundreds of teenagers in the end. I was there when it was barely anybody, but it turned into a big deal. And we would do these street fairs, and honestly, at the street fairs, there'd be 2,000 to 3,000 people at these street fairs. We do 3 of them in a week with all volunteer teenagers. It was honestly, looking back, like logistically, it was crazy what we did. And we could have all the meetings. We did. We had a lot of meetings. And we talked through all kinds of things that we needed to make sure we be prepared for. But there was only one way to know if you were actually ready to go, and that was to do it, right? That was to actually have that street fair. And I remember the first year we did it, we did one street fair. And it went great. But you have to have somebody, in this case it was me, right? You have to have somebody who's on the ground that can make adjustments to the theory after the event begins. You need somebody who can make that call, that doesn't get overwhelmed by pressure, and also doesn't get overwhelmed by, that's not what we talked about in the meeting. Like there's just certain personalities that get hogtied by, well, what am I going to do? Like, who should I talk to? I can't just, like, I can't change anything. We didn't talk about that. Anyways, God bless them. I need them because I'm not that person. I was the person in charge of these outreaches. Man, we had a blast. And then we added a second one the next year, and then we added a third one my third year, and then we added a second week of outreach, and then we added 3 to that week. So by the time I left, I think we were doing 6 street fairs. And what's awesome about doing street fairs in the inner city is that it was not across the board, but the vast majority of people that would come to the street fair very seldom leave their block or several blocks. Like they come, like it's very almost tribe oriented. It was fascinating to me. Not good or bad or anything. It just was fascinating. You know, I'd have these conversations because I was on the ground, moving and checking all that stuff. But I would have conversations with the people that were there, and they would say, "Yeah, I live right down the street. Yeah, I live 1 block over. Yeah, I heard the music and I came over." It was really amazing. And a lot of them would be like, and we'd invite them to the next fair. Well, we're gonna do a street fair tomorrow night over in this area of the city, and they'd be like, "Oh, I don't know, I've never been over there. No, I know, I'm not going." What? It's like you could almost walk, not quite, almost walk there from here. Nope, not gonna happen. Anyways, on with the show, Bob. So they're moving from concept to reality, and that means, everybody, it was exciting. You get excited. That first Hartford Project Street Fair, we called it Love Wins. The first Love Wins event, like people were fired up. The first time, like what we did, 8 years we ran a youth camp in Pittsfield, Mass. It's no longer there. It was called Lakeside Christian Camp. We ran that. It was my job to recruit, train, and oversee the staff and the programming at the summer camp. And it was a blast for me. You want to talk about a job that, like, boom, like my sweet spot. Like every day I got to do chapel in the morning so I could talk for an hour. Nobody cared. It was just me. It was awesome. Well, not awesome because anyways, I had a great time. But we would train the counselors, the staff, the whole staff, and we would kind of get to know each other and kind of understand how things were running, but we didn't know until that first Saturday, the first registration, the first time kids start showing up. It's like, okay, we're outside of theory, we're now into reality, and that's exactly what's going on here in this chapter. So we went from we're going to implement now a system of worship to facilitate a connection to a personal God. Now, I know I've run this through several episodes already, and I'm going to continue to run it through episode after episode after episode, because we have got to get this woven into our concept of the law and the books of the law, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. This system was an on-ramp to connection to a personal God. A God that is relational and wants relationship with his people. Because honestly, there are some human leaders that are very relational, but they don't necessarily want to be relational with the people that are coming to their church or to the ministry or even into their house. And you hear about them. You hear the stories from people who they are connected to, and it's like, oh, that person's awesome. Oh, you'll love him. Oh my gosh, they're so They're so relational. There's so much in the community. Oh, it's awesome. And then you get close to them, and it's like, yeah, you're not a part of this community. We've had that happen even with just groups of people in a church, where from the outside they're very attractive because they're very they're attracting. I shouldn't say that. They're very attracting because they have such a tight-knit friendship and relationship, and people want to be close to them. But generally speaking, they weren't open to taking new members. And so they had a great reputation amongst themselves of being awesome and authentic and community minded and relational. But then if you talk to a lot of people who had tried to work their way into that kind of circle, some would call it a clique. Then they were like, yeah, no, like they never called me back. It was only a one-way street. I was constantly reaching out to them. I had to do all the work. They were more than willing to come to my parties, but I was never invited to their parties, all that kind of stuff. So God's like, listen, I'm not just a relational God. I want relationship with my people. This system was not designed to go on forever. We've talked about it. I'll bring it up again. Not designed to go forever. Not designed to go forever. It was designed to end. It was designed to get people connected. Follow the rules. Build your confidence. Come and talk to me anyway. Because as we see later on in Scripture, God's like, I really could care less if you bring a sacrifice. Not interested, really. Unless the pattern is something you need to feel comfortable coming to me. Then we can work it out. All right. Obviously, this system needed a whole tribe of workers. Lots and lots of them. I mean, we went through some of the logistics last week. You needed a lot of them. And it needed to be going every day. And it needed to be going all day, every day. And someone needed to do all the laundry. And then when you tore it down, right, you had to move it, set it up, get things going again. Like it involved everyone. So the whole tribe of workers. And because it took their whole tribe and all of their time and focus, this whole tribe would also basically have no time for their personal flocks and land. They needed to be committed to doing this for the nation, and that would therefore put them in an opportunity to totally trust God. They would be dependent on God for their inheritance, for their food. Now, granted, a lot of the sacrifices they got to share in. They got to, in essence, cook it. I know that's a rude way of saying it. It wasn't like the altar wasn't like a barbecue, but and some of these things they knew. Let's see, we get to split this. Now you're splitting it amongst a whole tribe. It's not like 12 guys are going to split a bull. But granted, there's a lot of bulls and a lot of sheep and a lot of goats being brought in. This whole tribe would need to be very humble. Because when you are in charge of connecting people to God, when that's your role is one of a relational connector to someone's creator, it is very easy for that person that you're leading, or in this case, the tribes of people that you're leading, it's very easy for them to get that sense of connection to God and then want to reward you or give you more of a spiritual role in their life. So they will, it's speaking of, for somebody who pastored for almost 40 years, it's a precious privilege to walk with somebody down their life's journey, regardless of how long it is. It's a precious privilege, but you have to have the internal integrity to not allow them to turn over more control to you and in their personal life than what you should have. Not that you should ever have control of them. I'm just saying, like, it's a not bizarre. It's something you have to be aware of. There you go. You have to be aware of it because they will turn it over to you. Because one, they're excited for the opportunity to feel connected to God. It's like, oh, you connected me to God. This is awesome. And then They think, oh, I need this part of my life, and you could do this, and what should I do here? What should I do here? And all of a sudden, you're literally have the opportunity to run your life, their life, and control what kind of car they drive, where they look for work, how long they work, who they marry. I mean, it's one thing to ask advice of somebody. It's another whole thing when they want to turn over control. Just tell me what to do, and I'll do it. Man, you have to be humble. And the priest, this needed a whole tribe of people that were going to be humble, because when you're not on duty and you're just wandering about, part of their role and would be continued their role in the nations when they took over the promised land, part of their role would be to teach. When you're not on duty at the temple, your role was to teach the tribes. And so they would ask you questions, and they would see you as a spiritual leader, and they would want you to rule their lives, because they are moving out of a slave servant mentality, and that is a very long journey. And along the way, I have little doubt they want to give that control to somebody, some master that would be nice to them. And God's like, that's me. I'm the one you need relationship with. And the priests were to point people to God for that very reason. It was an incredibly complex, because it's relational, an incredibly complex and honor, place of tremendous honor to interact with people like this at a tribal level. Level? Is there a B in that word? I don't think so. At a tribal level, they were influencing the journey of individuals. It's fascinating and quite impressive what was going on. So the ceremony, right? The ceremony, pretty intense. It was going to go 7 days, not 24/7, but 7 days. And it would be witnessed by the entire nation. Now, that phrase can have a couple meanings. We'll get into it later, but we'll just say, all right, so the whole nation's going to witness this. Or at the very least, the elders from each tribe, which is really more the practical thing. You could go and watch it all you wanted, but the people that had to be there were the elders from every tribe, which was still, hundreds of people, because elders came from the big families, and there were multiple big families to come from. Anyways, so there were a lot of people that would be there, but I don't think it was 600,000 people plus women and children. It could be. And there are writers who believe that it was a miraculous thing. As a matter of fact, there's some Jewish teachers that teach that the miracle of the 7-day sanctification thing was that the entire nation fit in a small, basically square area, so that they could all see and hear what was going on, because they all needed to do this. Now, I don't know. Wasn't there? I don't know. But it could have been a miracle, or it could have just been the elders. That's what I think, but I don't know. I don't know. So you think what you want. So when the offerings were done, then, everybody went home. Now, that's all from basically verse 1. Good luck getting through the rest of the chapter. But I can do it. I've done it before. I'm getting on a chapter rhythm here in Leviticus. You guys are going to be so proud of me. Bob's proud of me. Here we go. Verse 2. Take Aaron. Oh, yeah, we got to look at that word. All right. Take Aaron. Now, a lot of times, right, it's easy to think of this, like, go over and say hi to Aaron. Say, hey, Aaron, come with me. But that's not what it means. It means to win him over with words. Why would Moses need to take Aaron and his sons, or the leaders of the families, and convince them to take on this role for the nation? Well, I just covered a bunch of it. I just covered a bunch of it, right? I mean, it's no small task. You're asking them to give up an inheritance. You're asking them to trust God. You're asking them to work with people on the daily. If they're not in the temple, they're going to work with them somewhere else. And they're going to, teach, and they're going to preach, and they're going to walk, and they're going to talk, and they're going to... And then when they are working at the temple, they're going to be cutting up animals. They're going to be sacrificing animals. They're going to be doing the routine. They got to do it right. They got to... That's just that. But when I thought about this, I thought, why would Aaron and his sons, consequently, have to be convinced to take this role for the nation? I think maybe, and this is a maybe, and I understand that, I do, and it's fine. If you, this is where you get to use your imagination, all right? I think Aaron probably felt a little unworthy, maybe. A lot of us do. Like when we hear from the Lord and we hear him say, hey, I'd like to do this, or whatever that means. And I know hearing from God can mean a lot of different things. It could be an impression you get. It could be a dream that you've had. It could be a conversation that you had. It could be conversations you had with many people who seem to all be saying the same thing. I mean, there's lots of ways to hear from God. But when you get that call, it's easy to listen to the enemy tell you why you don't deserve to serve the Lord, why you're not a worthy person to be called into that level of commitment and focus into what God's doing. And that's the way I would look at this, right? You're being called into something that God's doing. God's putting together an offering system that allows people to connect to him and gain in their confidence of connecting with him, to come confidently before the throne. God's asked the tribe of Levi to come and help people do that. Aaron is probably not feeling all that worthy. Why would you say that, Bob? Because I believe Aaron had the opportunity to lead people out of Egypt for years, and he didn't do it. And you could, I know, or you'd have to listen to Exodus, but season 3. But when Moses got there, there was a lot of resistance from the people of Israel, from the Jews, from the people of Israel. I know Israel wasn't invented yet, but there was resistance because they had determined that they were never leaving. It was up to the elders to make life as good as it could get while they were there in Egypt. They had no land to go to. And so Aaron, being one of the elders, was part of that system that was just trying to make life easier for everyone. And Moses came along and said, hey, I can get you 3 days off. Just let me go talk to Pharaoh, and we'll go spend 3 days in the desert worshiping the Lord. And they're like, awesome. And then he came back and they were like, listen, actually things got worse. And people were like, who are you again, and why are you here? You had a death warrant on you. Like, why? Go away. But I think Aaron is looking at what Moses is doing, and he wonders, did I contribute to people living and dying in slavery because I did not have the courage or the relational awareness to go to God and say, let's get this over with? That's one thing. The other thing would be, well, kind of tied into that, is the whole idea that he worked with Egypt, right? He worked with their leadership. He had access in and out of the throne room. So it wasn't like, when Moses showed up and they were like, who are you again? It was like Aaron walked into the palace. Like this was a known thing. He probably had a pretty comfortable existence. And he brought Moses with him, remember? So I think at some level he's like, wait, what? Maybe I shouldn't have been working with the enemies of God. I don't. Focus, Bob. All right. And then, of course, you got the whole golden calf incident. Oh, yes, minor details. Where he forged a calf to replace Moses, and he was going to remain the high priest who would mediate between the people and the calf. And the calf, of course, would talk to God, but the calf isn't going to talk to God. So everybody, Aaron knew, like, I'll be in charge. And maybe, as I spoke about in season 3, maybe he was hoping to kind of figure out a way to get everybody still committed to Yahweh. He didn't want to die. He didn't want the people to run back to Egypt and worship idols like there. I have no doubt he was conflicted. I think he was conflicted at this time, and that's why the Lord's like, go convince Aaron. And then I do think that the tribe kind of felt similar things regarding Aaron. Like, there were people in the tribe that were like, why should he lead us? Why? He didn't take us out of Egypt. Like, he had all that opportunity. He didn't do nothing. He didn't do nothing. What has he ever done for me? That sort of thing. So the inauguration of this whole thing, I think, was to bring a emotional healing. We'll call it inner healing, right? Because that's at the time of this recording, everybody's into that in various churches. Like, I had to go to inner healing, and there's lots of wonderful ways where that happens. I'm not discounting it. I'm just saying, we'll just say Aaron had to do some inner healing, and I think that the 7-day inauguration of the temple and the sanctification. Sorry, the preacher came out again. Of the tribe, I think, was part of this for God. I think God was like, all right, I'm gonna do some inner healing with Aaron and with the whole tribe. I need them to know that they're forgiven, that they are loved, that they are special, that I have a plan for them, that they have purpose, that they have focus, that they have direction, and we're all going to do this together. And I think that's amazing about God. He didn't look at this like, I'm going to scare the pants off these guys with all the things that they're now sanctified to do. They're going to be so terrified of me, they won't be able to sleep at night. Because that's what a good sanctified life will be like. Scared to death to do something wrong because I'm a holy God. And I'll kill you if you step out of line. No, he's like, I need to bring some inner healing to this whole tribe, and especially to Aaron. So let's spend some time doing that. So let's say the 600,000 men, 20 to 60 years old, and everybody else all got together, or maybe just the elders. And it would be a miracle. And they all gather at the front of the tent of meeting. And this is another place of humility for Moses, right? Because he's acting as the high priest, and he's sanctifying his replacement. Now, this is something that a lot of preachers should do, but they don't. They should be working themselves out of a job and bringing in the next generation of leadership so that they can also work themselves out of a job. Most preachers are like, no, I'm going to leave it up to the denomination to send in my replacement. I'll leave it up to the search committee to send in my replacement. I'll leave it. But of course, I'm going to also oversee the search committee because I know best who we need to find to take my place. Like, there's all kinds of stuff that goes on. Fill in the blank. And Moses here is the high priest until Aaron takes over. So that's pretty crazy. And the inauguration of Aaron was complete. Moses would no longer go into the temple. He could be at the front. He could go to the front area and talk to people, but yeah, he couldn't go in. That's the priest's job. So there were 3 bulls that were offered, right? There was 3 bulls. Sorry, there were 3 offerings. One was a bull, and that was the sin offering. We talked about that last week. If you didn't hear it last week, go listen to it. We broke it down real good. The second one was a ram. That was an elevation offering. right? That was the whole thing, to bring to show a corporate desire for higher spiritual elevations. And then the third offering was the peace offering. And that was all about gaining confidence to know, listen, I'm pure, I'm clean, I'm good, but I still want more. I want to be closer to God. And then after that, there was the bread, which was the 10 loaves of the 3 types of grain offerings. And that was supposed to offer the life, comfort, and connection to God, because he's the reason we have life. That's why it was bread. And that was 3 types of grain offerings, right? 10 loaves of the 3 types. So it was a big display. And with all this is over, that whole tribe stepped out of theory and into reality of their role. They stopped having meetings, and now they were going to actually start performing their duties. And I'm sure they probably had a lot of meetings after that too. As a lot of you know, when you move into reality, there's a lot more meetings, because it's like, okay, our theory isn't working, or it's not going quite as we thought, or maybe I have a different idea to make this a little easier for everyone. Now, the men were excited by everything. I'm sure the anticipation was off the charts. And they were renewed in their call, and they served with joy. See, that's the evidence of God. When God's involved, you're going to feel joy about serving. If he's not involved, then you're going to feel other things, like exhaustion, all kinds of forms of exhaustion. Sometimes it's depression. Sometimes it's like, what am I, you start to question everything. Sometimes you just like want to quit and then go somewhere else because you're tired. Nothing in this church. When God's involved, there's joy involved, because literally he breathes in and breathes out joy. If you read scripture and you're not reading joy, then you're not hearing the voice of God. The voice of God is filled with joy. It can't not be. It's filled with hope. It's filled with peace. It is gracious and kind. Any other voice that you're hearing, you need to check yourself, or you might wreck yourself. So as this week went on, the people got more excited. The Levites got more excited. By the 7th day, they were so ready to take over their roles, and they took their roles and they started the system that, remember, wasn't designed to last forever. But the system was amazing. And the opportunity to interact with people was amazing. And everybody was excited to see how this was all going to work. And we'll get into it more next week on the Epic Narrative. Thanks for coming by today, everyone.
Don't go anywhere. We've got Bob Thoughts.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Well, at least it's morning for me. I hope you're having a good morning, or you already had a good morning. Thanks for listening to this week's episode. I don't know. I enjoyed it. It's the practical stuff of just, in essence, being in ministry and being the first ones of the nation to be in ministry. There was something else I thought of the other day regarding the logistics. I thought, what about the guys who had to keep the knives sharp for all the butchering that was going on, right? I mean, and then there had to be people who, just because of the nature, right, of people, some work harder than others. Some think that others work less than they do. Like, there's that whole relational dynamic to the work that went around and, went around the temple, that had to be part of the dynamics of everything that Aaron had to kind of keep track of, right? It would ultimately, the bad stuff would always end up in Aaron's lap somewhere along the line. Or Moses, he'd hear the rumors, the scuttlebutt. Somebody would come in and be like, yeah, well, Levi so-and-so, they didn't quite do their job. They leave a mess. Whatever. Like, it's just interesting for me to think about. I hope it was interesting for you as well. But I'm enjoying this season. I hope you guys are as well. I appreciate somebody reached out. They were trying to listen to season 1 and episode 1 had disappeared. So of course I reached out to Brian because I can't do anything without that guy. And sure enough, he figured it out. The standard backlog of recordings is 200, and we had passed that. So they started to just eliminate the oldest recordings. But he figured it all out, got it all fixed. Now they're all there and should be for a while. We extended the backlog to cover at least the next 2, probably 3 full seasons. And then we'll extend it beyond that again. But we got material because we got like a whole Bible to cover. Anyways, I do, once again, I appreciate the beautiful, amazing donation of the new phone. I just love that, and still love the new computer someone got us. We're keeping this thing together. It's rolling along. Somebody, I needed earbuds so I could do some work while I'm at work on the podcast, and those were provided. People have just been great. Others have, if you're wondering like what can I do? Something little you could do is this. I would love to have a subscription to Apple Music. I use Apple for all of our stuff, and I don't, it's tough to say, all right, well, we're going to spend $12 a month on Apple Music so that I can do more. And so if you're out there and you're thinking, hey, I'd like to help out, how can I help? That'd be something you can do. And if you want to do that, I can, again, I'm not a 501c3. I have no intention of ever becoming a 501c3. But if you want to help me out, I will give you, you can reach out privately, and I'll give you a couple ways that you can do that. Or you could, I think you can send me a gift of an Apple subscription. And again, you can reach out, I'll let you know. But of course, the email is thebobswitzer@gmail.com. And yeah, I think that's it for this week. Hey, man, I hope you guys are having a great day. I look forward to talking to you again next week. As always, as always, how do I want to end this? How to end this dramatically? As always, we look forward to seeing you again on The Epic Narrative.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening. If you like what you heard, you can subscribe to this podcast on any platform you use. You can also reach out to Bob for questions or booking at thebobswitzer.com or email him at thebobswitzer@gmail.com. See you next week, guys.